Before we get going, I've got a couple of introductions. My counseling staff is here. Ms. Snow, Ms. Lewis, and Ms. Beatty someplace. And also, I want to introduce our board member, Ms. Allie LaSalle is here. And I just told our guests, hello, Allie. I said, she's not here for you, she's grading me, she's a school board member. Anyway, we're just really glad you're here, whether you're from Manning or one of the other schools. Again, just thrilled that you could take the time to do this. I want to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, we had a situation at Manning, and I received a safe to tell. And that's how all of this sort of unfolded. We had an investigator mama here, and I think it's his fault that I received the safe to tell, and then it just dominoed. One name led to another name, led to another name, led to another name. And it had to do with sexting. And I have to tell you, these are great kids. They're not bad kids, but they're making bad choices and bad decisions. And I think as adults, we owe it to each and every one of our students in Jeffco, at least, to do everything we can to protect them against what can happen. It's dangerous. It also is against the law, and that's what you're going to hear tonight. So I want to introduce, obviously, all these guests, and they found the time to come here tonight. Obviously, Mr. Pete Weir is our district attorney. Alexis King is a deputy district attorney here at Jeffco. Senior investigator George Bumma, who is a liaison to the Juvenile Division of Law Enforcement. Did I sort of kind of get that right? And District Attorney Investigator Detective Mike Harris, who you may have seen on TV, so if you want to get his autograph. He has made so many internet busts against these predators. It's just incredible. So this is not about me. This is about our children, and I'm going to turn this over to our DA. Pete?
Thank you, Barb. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate you all taking the time. This is important information that we had to share with you tonight. And I'm right there with you. I hate to admit it, but I'm almost 64 years old, and I've got a 16-year-old son in Golden High School and a 13-year-old daughter that just started 7th grade over at Dunston. What I missed, though, I don't know where I was. I've asked my wife. I don't know where I was when my son and my daughter had their phones surgically implanted in their hands. Just unbelievable. So some of the issues we'll be discussing tonight are near and dear to me personally. Just want to give you a very brief overview about our approach to juveniles in general. This is an area that is extremely important to me and to my office. Juvenile justice is different than criminal justice. The focus in juvenile justice of our prosecutors and investigators assigned to the unit is twofold. One is we protect the best interests of the community, but we also look out for the best interests of the child. It's a civil proceeding. It's not a criminal proceeding. So the entire focus is trying to help a child. And we're trying to keep children out of the adult criminal justice system. I'm a firm believer that if we intervene appropriately in a young person's life, then we can correct behavior and we can keep them out of the adult criminal justice system. I'm proud of the programs that we have in the DA's office. I think we're on the cutting edge of a lot of things that we do. Just to give you a brief overview, I guess the best place to start is juvenile diversion. This is where kids may have committed what would otherwise be a crime if they were an adult, but we recognize that they need services and they do not need to have anything lasting on their record. And that's a key component of our juvenile justice system, the confidentiality component. So there may be times that the system has got to intervene, but we're very cautious to make sure that it's as confidential as possible and it does not leave a lasting blemish problem for the child as they go forward. That's the whole purpose of the juvenile justice system. Juvenile diversion, the child would come in, plead guilty to basically deferred judgment and sentence, placed on probation, gets a variety of services tailored to the individual needs of that child, does some community service, pays restitution. The guilty plea would be withdrawn, the case is dismissed. That's kind of a mid-level case. At the absolute lowest level is our low-risk offender program. For a juvenile that might be involved in something minor that does require some intervention, but we don't want to do too much. And it basically is a pre-filing program where for 6 months they are under supervision for community service, and then the case goes away. We also have a program that we call the Youngers Program, which is dedicated to kids 10, 11, and 12 years old. Imagine that. Because we firmly believe that these kids do not belong in our juvenile justice system. But these are kids that are at risk. They've been identified as starting down a path that may lead to problems later. So it's a multidisciplinary team that's been formed to try to determine what is the best way to be handling these 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, the youngers as we call them. In conjunction with the schools, we also have a threat assessment team, which gets together between schools, social services, probation, my office, defense attorneys, and we assess individuals to see exactly what are the risks that they have, and what are the needs that they have. And as a unit, try to make the best decision possible for the child. Our goal, in many, many cases, is not prosecution. Now we use being involved in the system as the leverage, if you will, to encourage compliance with programs that we think are going to help kids. But that's our focus. Our focus is trying to keep kids out of the system. And of course, there are times when you have a juvenile who commits an extraordinarily serious crime, and that's when the prosecution takes a different path. We take a look at whether or not, for these extraordinarily serious cases, what is the appropriate thing to do. Normally, it's full prosecution. They may be looking at commitment to the Division of Youth Corrections. If, in fact, it's serious enough, it may be that the juvenile gets prosecuted as an adult. That's done extremely rarely in Jefferson County. I'm not sure how many we had last year. Alexis, 2, 3? We had 2 last year. I've often said that other than the decision of whether or not to seek the death penalty, the decision of whether or not to charge a juvenile as an adult is the most serious decision a district attorney makes. And the vast majority of those kids, even if they're charged as adults, wind up in what we call our youth offender system. It's an adjunct of the Department of Corrections, but it's been extraordinarily successful. It's a 6-year program where you're focused on education, vocational training, and the kids that go through that program, the recidivism rate is about 8 times less than kids that are not afforded YOS. So I could go on and on, but you're not here to listen to me. Outside is a report about the district attorney's office. Feel free to pick this up. It tells about all the programs in your EA's office, including our juvenile programs. You are incredibly fortunate tonight because you have the A-teams here, and I don't say that lightly. George Mama and Alexis King will be speaking with you about our Sexing Solutions program. It's the only one in the state, and George and Alexis were very instrumental in starting this program. And I think you will see how innovative it is, how creative it is, and at the end of the day, it really is to the benefit of the kids and to the benefit of parents, believe it or not. Mike Harris, it is not an overstatement, and I'm embarrassed by saying this, but he and Cassandra are not only leaders in Colorado, but they are national leaders with respect to the investigation of child internet sex offender, child predators. Since the initiation of our CHIZO program, Mike and his team have arrested over 900 pedophiles. Just remarkable. Mike and his team lecture nationally. We're very fortunate to have what they call the Jeffco DA's office home. With that, one other aside that I will tell you is that Alexis now is assigned to our human trafficking unit. It's the only unit in the DA's office in the state. It's not really the focus tonight. If you're interested at the end of the presentation, she should probably do 4 or 5 minutes and tell you about human trafficking. I believe it's something that we cannot tolerate in Jefferson County. And the collaborative approach that's been put in place by so many stakeholders is absolutely amazing. Between schools, human services, probation, law enforcement, my office, victim advocates, other stakeholders, we really have come together as a community to say that we are not going to tolerate the commercial and sexual exploitation of young teenagers, both boys and girls. It's an amazing program. The biggest challenge is to convince people that yes, it happens in Jefferson County. Unfortunately, it does. It happens all across Colorado, across our nation. But maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit later. With that, George and Alexis.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to talk to you tonight about our sexting program, and what George and I are going to do is give you an overview of what we tell kids and families who, frankly, get caught sexting, okay? And it's because we have a special program in Jefferson County where kids who are caught and investigated, so law enforcement gets involved and detective files a case, we then route them through a small team that George and I sit on, along with our treatment provider, a representative from the school district, and a representative from our diversion office. And we decide whether or not a kid is appropriate. Frankly, almost every kid is appropriate for it because it's an educational process. And what we do is the kid never goes to the police station. There's no booking, so there's no paper trail. And we ask them to come in, and they have to go to 6 classes for about 2 hours a week. It's $300, and if kids can't afford it, then there are some grant options that our office has sought out in order to make it affordable. And at the end of those 6 weeks, we hope that those kids and those parents become ambassadors for us, because kids are in the best position to tell other kids that what they're doing is not a good idea. And other parents are in the best position to tell parents what they learned and what they're looking out for in their home. So we're going to walk through some of that tonight and hopefully give you a little bit of insight about why we felt this was so important and what we're doing on the back end too, because with PED support, we are really pushing for there to be a law change so that kids who are caught in this type of scenario are treated differently than adults who are exchanging, for lack of a better term, child pornography on the internet. So a statute that would specifically address kids trading images with other kids. We weren't successful last year, but we have support again this year, not only from PED, but also from the Colorado District Attorney's Council to try for that again. So we'll be out there trying to make the law a more modern place, but this is where we are right now. So please, and if you have questions, holler. George, you want to tell the group why you felt what your experience was?
Sure. So, I don't know how many of you get your AARP magazine. I know I get mine. But last year in December, AARP on the front cover said, if you're sexting today with your significant other, be sure you delete the images so your grandchildren don't find them. I thought that was awesome, a little strange. The reason we're here is I handle most of the juvenile crime cases in the county, so when law enforcement charges these kids with crime and they're not written tickets, then the cases come through our office over at the assessment center, and we screen them, determine what's going to happen with them. We started seeing that the kids were sexting, and they were sending inappropriate images. Law enforcement then would pick these kids up, fingerprint, photograph, do all that. Well, it's a sex crime. That can't ever be removed from your record, ever. No expungement for a sexting crime. And what led me to go to Alexis, then to Pete, and others to try and build this program was a case involving 2 8th graders at one of our middle schools. And these two hooked up as boyfriend-girlfriend. They stayed together until they were seniors, at one of our local high schools. And during the time that they were together, he pushed her and he pushed her and he pushed her to do things she knew she shouldn't do. But what could it hurt just one time? It's only on my phone and it goes away in just a few minutes. And he pushed her and he pushed her and he pushed her some more. Eventually, it wasn't just underwear pictures, it was breast pictures, and then she was fully naked. Of course, he reciprocated with penis pictures too. But they broke up. Don't you all remember when you were growing up? And did you break up for some of the dumbest reasons? I was at Drake Middle School the other day. I did a presentation. I'm leaving, walking through the cafeteria, and 3 little girls were talking about a breakup. I had to listen in. It went something like this. Well, he told me last night when I talked to him on the phone, he was going to meet me right off the bus. I got on the bus, he wasn't there. I walked into school, he was talking to Susie, and we just broke up. I know some of you are nodding your heads. Well, these two broke up, and he was pissed about the breakup. So he sent all the naked images to his friends. They sent them to their friends, who sent them to their friends, and a couple of his friends tagged her name to the pictures. Everybody knows what tagging is, right? Yeah, once it's there, it don't come off. We theoretically believe we could get 780,000 naked images of her. Now, she graduated from CU with an aerospace engineering degree. She can't get a job today. Because thanks to the tagging of her name to the images, every time you Google her name, all the naked pictures come up. Forever. Now, Mike works a lot with the stuff with our predators, and parents ask us all the time, how can you get rid of the images? Well, as far as we know right now, there's no way. So for the rest of her life, short of changing her name, those images will be out there forever. Your kids do this every day. Some of them get caught. Not all of them. How many of you take your phones from your kids at night? How many of you look at the images they shoot every day? These are the things you need to be thinking about. This case, that case, started what we're doing today.
Okay, so I think everyone here probably has an idea what sexting is. It's not a legal word, okay? It's a common sense idea that people are sharing explicit images. And generally, what we're talking about when we're talking about sexting is that it is something that's happening on a device of some sort, right? It's traveling through the internet and landing somewhere else. I think it's really important to understand why this cannot be ignored. And one thing that George touched on, this started out as 2 kids doing this consensually. And we'll talk about repeatedly that when images are created, they are there. And when they go to the internet, it is very hard to get them back. So one thing that the law is designed to do, of course, is to protect children from adults, right? So that's how our legislature has formatted this. We start with at the lowest rung, right? A petty offense is a curfew violation. I'm aware of this, having picked up 1 or 2 as a teenager. There's a misdemeanor 3, the lowest level of misdemeanors. It includes stuff like harassment or disorderly conduct. Then we talk about a theft. It can be from $300 to $750, and that's the middle range misdemeanor. Okay? Notice we're nowhere near talking about sexting. Then we have a class 1 misdemeanor, the highest misdemeanor level. Unlawful sexual contact, which means that someone reached out and grabbed somebody or touched somebody. Or 3rd-degree assault, meaning that someone caused bodily harm to another. Bodily harm can just be pain, but notice we're talking about someone physically acting against someone else. And that just takes us up to felony levels. Okay? The lowest rung on our felony ladder is a class 6 felony. We have a 3rd-degree assault on an at-risk person, so someone who might be developmentally delayed or ill. A 1st-degree criminal trespass of a dwelling, which means that you might go into someone's house without having permission. We are escalating in crimes, and we are not yet to sexting. Class 4 felony, burglary. This is not of a dwelling or of a home, but just a building. So if kids were to break into the school, take some stuff out of the computer lab and leave, we're talking about a class 4 felony. And then we hit where sexual exploitation comes in. It's a class 3 felony. And there are crimes above it, but they are very serious. Because the law is designed to protect children who are being preyed on by adults, right? It does not account for kids who are exchanging images with other kids.
Check this out.
So something that we try to convey to kids when they go through the sexting program is that they don't control their image, which George started out by saying. I think that one thing that kids really think is that certainly our girls think that they're sharing things to maybe enforce how they feel about someone or to get more attention for whatever reason. And that's kind of the classic sexting scenario. But what we also tell kids, particularly